let's go ahead and welcome everybody. I think we have some people coming in. Yeah, I see some familiar faces, but just to give the warm welcome everybody to another One Firm webinar. Our opportunity to sit down and help law firms execute their business of law strategies as one firm. Today, I am super excited because I managed to get Phil Thurner, the CEO of Nexl, on us. A post raise, post Series A. I don't know if anybody had seen the news, but we're very excited here at Nexl for raising our post Series A. But we're even more excited to talk about today's topic, are we not, Phil?
Oh, we're super excited to talk about it. But I have a problem. I'm standing and didn't come here to sit down. Should I sit down? Nah, I'm going to stand.
I don't know.
It gives
I'm
more
also
energy.
Yes, right.
Awesome. Then why are you saying we come here together to sit down and talk about stuff? We're actually standing.
That's true. That's true. It's funny because I'm actually standing as well. So for all of you in the audience, anybody want to get up, please feel free and join Phil and I in standing up. Phil, besides that, how are you feeling? Where are you right now? How's your view today on December 7th?
I'm feeling great. For me, it's December 8th. I'm actually in Australia, so I'm calling from the future. It is going to be a lovely day today. So Friday is going to be really good. You can look forward to it. No, I'm feeling really excited about everything that's happening. We've gotten some really good PR over the last week as well with our fundraise. That's wrapped up, which is really exciting. Obviously, people who have ever had to go or have supported businesses going through fundraising know how draining that process can be, and now it's finally done, and you can probably tell from my face it feels good. It feels really good.
Yes.
Now I'm excited to finally have the time to join things like this again and help the industry again and help them modernize the business of law and really support these brave souls that think they can do things differently. And enable them. Yeah. So it's really, really good.
Exactly. And they can. So we're excited as well. Let us know where you're calling in from. Are you calling in from the future? Or are you calling in from the present? I am here in beautiful Tampa Bay, Florida. It's another sunny day. It's actually I didn't know this whenever I moved here, but Tampa Bay is the sunniest place in the world. By Guinness World Book of Records, the most number of days of sun in the world. And it can get very hot if that's what you're wondering, definitely. But let us know where you're tuning in from. We certainly would love to hear everybody. It's cold in New York. Hi, Lynn. Absolutely. What a surprise. Cold in New York. But the weather is certainly not something that people move to New York to, but otherwise, incredible city. Yeah, let us know where else you're calling in from. We'll get ready and get started in about 1 minute here. We just want to give everybody the chance to get into their seats or their standing desks, whichever it is. Phil, when you think about, when you think about April in North Carolina, when you think about email, what do you think about? Email for law firms. What's your first reaction?
Spam. Unfortunately, for some, it's not the majority, but this is something that happened. We've spoken to so many law firms, and they've even told me there was this global CMO from a very, very large international law firm, and he's told me that they did this initiative to trying to actually look into some of the engagement, and they realized that they had emailed one of their specific clients in a specific country over 300 times in a year. Throughout their different offices. And this is why spam sometimes comes in, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm receiving even from law firms, because I like sometimes to just sign up on all of these different law firm pages to just see on what they're kind of doing to keep up to date with things. And I receive things which have no relevancy to what we do and what I do. I get a banking regulatory update, for example. Don't know why. I don't know a single person on that email ever. So this is why spam came a little bit up. But then also at the same time, what we always love around that is opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if there's something broken and not working well, there's a huge opportunity for people to actually fix it and do it right. And that differentiates.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Not about problems. It's about solving those problems. Very, very startup founder of you,
Oh,
Phil.
every challenge
Absolutely.
is actually an opportunity. Every problem, anything that's broken is it's a huge opportunity, and people can
Exactly.
capitalize on it. And this is, I think, why we are here today to even talk about this and how
Absolutely.
can they capitalize on it a little bit more and using data for it to do so.
Totally. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started then? I think that's about as good of an intro as we are going to get. So we have quite a few people here. We're very excited to really talk about the power of data-driven email marketing. I think what we're hoping to accomplish today in this webinar is to give everybody on the call, but also just law firms, an idea about how data can really help you drive your email marketing strategy. Email is not dead. What's dead is sending 300 emails to a general counsel. That no longer works. We live in a
Spray and pray, right? Spray
yes,
and pray.
exactly, exactly. But targeted, relevant, highly nurturing, highly personalized email is here before. People need context and they need curation more than ever before. But getting there can be difficult. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can unpack and just shine a light on everything that we're learning from law firms around the world and what they're doing. And this is really what we're saying. This is, as an industry, we're all trying to move together, I think, into this new way. And Nexl's trying its best to empower these law firms with the platform. And innocent plug, but very direct plug. Nexl has released its own email marketing system, Nexl Engage, that is natively integrated right into the CRM. That's all we're going to say about it. We'll put some information in the following, but we're very excited about that. Phil, you got a smile on your face. I know you want to say something. You're a
No,
product geek.
I always
You want to
love and
say a
how
little
you
bit
do
more?
some plugs and some small little placements to, it's like, and by the way, we also have our own
Yes,
email
right.
marketing tool, which fits into the passive data capture CRM, where we kind of have the collaboration platform and everything kind of comes together. And it's so beautiful. It makes it so easy for everyone to do what we are saying today, what they should be doing. But yeah, I'm always excited that you find a way to mention it.
There we go. Well,
But now let's
I
stop
wouldn't be good.
about talking about product. This is not a pitch or anything. This is really just on
Exactly.
trying to share some information, what we're seeing in the market, and sharing some tips and tricks, because this is what we're here for, first and foremost, really
Absolutely.
enabling and helping people.
Totally. So let's get to the topics today. Again, we're talking about data-driven email marketing, and really some of what we want to unpack is what are some of the fundamentals of data-driven email marketing. So here's what we're going to go over. First, we're going to talk a little bit about uncovering your audience's preferences. This is core to being more data driven, which is having data into your audience's preferences, what they're like, what they're into, really segmentation, and how you can use segmentation. And that's what we're really talking about to really drive the rest of your strategy. Next, we're going to go into how to craft personalized email content once you have those preferences and once you have those email segments. The next is we're going to talk about how to create an engaging multi-thread cadence of emails. So this would be people can sit into different segments, but how do you weave it all together? And then the last is a full data-driven email strategy. And Phil's going to walk us from the simple, how to get started, all the way to the most advanced. And we're excited to see him play out this entire idea. So let's go ahead and just set the stage, I think. And frankly, Phil, you sort of talked a little bit about the fact that email marketing is not really in that great of a shape. These are just high level stats again across the entire email marketing channel. 54% of all emails are classified as spam today. 47% of emails are discarded based solely on their subject line, so we don't ever even get into people's inboxes. And more than 20% of email marketing emails never even make it to the inbox, let alone not get answered. So that's a tough state of the affairs. And really, it's not any one individual firm. It's not even the legal industry. It's just email marketing per se. And what we think is the prime culprit of this is really this spray and focusing on sending as much as you can to as many people as you can. Phil, what do you think about this?
Yeah,
Resonate
look,
with you?
there's this really big misconception then where it's like, let's try to just reach as many people as we can. The people that are not interested in, they're going to discard it anyway. They're just not going to engage with it, so it's fine. So why do I care? But at least we reach everyone, and we have the opportunity to just reach also this right one, even if we didn't actually know that this was the right person. It's very bad to think like that, because that really hurts your entire marketing strategy. First of all, if you are dismissed solely by a subject line, and you send content which is not relevant to someone, they feel like you don't know them. That is already a reputational damage a little bit you have. If you do it too often, they'll unsubscribe. And as soon as they unsubscribe, you have lost them as a marketing asset. You've worked so hard to get them onto the list, and now they're off because you've sent them the wrong things. Terrible. And then you can't market to them again, ever, unless you're actually trying to somehow do a full campaign around it to kind of get them re-signed in. But it's crazy. You're losing that asset. And then also the other thing is ISPs, so internet service providers, and your email service providers, they actually keep track of something which is called domain reputation. And what that means is if you do the spray and pray and you send it to a lot of people very quickly at the same time, the exact same content, and you don't have a lot of engagement, there's a lot of bounces because you're sending it to old email addresses, and there's not much engagement on your emails themselves, your domain reputation is just gradually declining. And guess what? Then it's not going to be just 44% of emails being classified as spam. It's going to be closer to 100% because you get blacklisted, your domain reputation goes down. And then even if you have something really interesting to say, you won't be able to say it anymore because it will never actually reach your audience.
Yeah. Lots to chew on there. But I think in a way, this is really well summarized by this very old very old quote from a very famous marketing executive, very famous ad man by the name of David Ogilvy, that Phil and I really like to quote whenever we're thinking specifically around the idea of email marketing, which is, today we're trying to reach a lot of people and we're counting how many people we reach rather than trying to reach the people who count. And what we're going to propose and what we're going to push forward is the idea of hyper segmentation is really the way to start counting, to start reaching the people who count. Phil, you love this quote, but you even like to talk a little bit about this idea of the GC, and you have this great story that you also had heard once from a from an in-house leader around regulatory updates. Do you want to tell maybe that story a little bit to really set the stage?
Yeah, look, it's kind of a thing again on how you have to combine multi-channels again a little bit on your approach as well. Email alone, yes, you can already drive quite a lot of engagement, but there is something else you can do to even kind of amplify it. And that story is, I spoke to a GC of a Fortune 500, and he's told me that, look, at the end of the day, if there's any regulatory movement or changes, he gets 50 to 60 emails from all of their law firms they're kind of working with basically exactly the same content in it. Doesn't really differentiate that much. He doesn't read many of them. Maybe he reads the first one, but the real outcome of this was also is like, but no one follows up with a simple phone call. Like a simple call to just say, hey, I've sent you this email, wanted to just give you a little bit of heads up, or even personalizes it in a way where it's not this generic thing that was blasted to everyone, but them taking the time to actually say, hey, Joe, you know what? I thought about you. This is the change that's coming. This is what's important for you. Do you want to have a chat? And even send something like this out to your real high value one. So email marketing, I think, is something you still have to segment in these different tiers as well. But this is something we can talk about a little bit in the strategy section itself. Yeah.
Yes, we are going to get into this.
I'm too excited. I'm always trying to kind of get everything out already. So
always too excited. Always in the future. Not only physically because you're in the future right now, but also going to the future. But yes, we're going to talk about how important it is to combine multi-channel email marketing with personalized follow-ups. But again, the point of this is segmentation is incredibly important to be able to start reaching the people who count. So let's get into that now, and let's talk really about how do you start to uncover audience preferences, And the answer, of course, is segmentation. But let's walk through segmentation and the different ways that you can really start to segment your audience. Phil, do you want to jump in here? Just start with the idea of segmentation, and yeah, what do we talk about when we're talking about segmentation? How do you get started? There's many different ways to cut this up, but let's say we're bought into the idea of segmentation as a way to uncover people's preferences and what they want to hear about. How do we?
So the first thing on segmentation is obviously stop sending all of your newsletters to just your master email list. This is obviously not segmentation. What segmentation means is that you have a specific piece of content that covers a specific topic for a specific industry, for example, and you only sharing it with people from within this industry who might even have indicated or can assume are interested in this type of content. So you're trying to segment based on data. And this is the simplest way of data segmentation, which is really just on contact information. And currently most law firms have first name, last name, they might have the job title, maybe the location, then it stops. And then it makes it really hard if I have some industry news to share on who to share it with if I don't actually know in which sectors and industries they're even in. And this is where, again, they are forced to kind of send it to everyone because they can't even segment it to reach the people who count. So they just have to send it to everyone and hope they're reaching the ones who count and hope that the ones that they reached where it was not relevant content to them, that they don't unsubscribe.
Yeah.
But okay. It's all around segmentation around that.
Exactly. So let's break down segmentation and uncovering audience preference. So the first is what Phil just talked about, which is classic segmentation according to contact items, demographics, location, client or not client, engagement level with previous emails. All of this is basic, what we would call quantitative and contact or company level segmentation. And that's a really good place to get started, right, Phil? It's like the lowest hanging fruit. This information is typically in your CRM, right?
Yeah, definitely. But also like this whole preference thing is, obviously you can already do it through demographics, but then you can literally just ask people what are their preferences, which is this preference management, right? A lot of law firms do that. They have that on their homepage where people can subscribe, and actually you ask your client, hey, what are you actually interested in receiving?
Yep.
And then you track it. But do you know what the biggest problem is, what most of these law firms still do?
What is it?
They don't stick to it.
Right.
They have the preferences, and yes, and then they add everyone obviously with the preferences into that list, but then they add a bunch of other people on top of it because just in case they're interested in that too. And then you end up with a large list again, So don't do that. If you do preference management, stick to it.
Exactly. Jumping ahead per usual, but yes. So do surveys and feedback. So one level, we have our CRM contact information that we can create segmentation. Phil, you just got us to surveys and feedback, right? And preference management. This is another way of really uncovering, which is asking people, right? Now that's not typically going to be reflected in your CRM because that information might not be natively captured. We natively capture that contact information, for example, in Nexl CRM, and we enrich it. But you have to actually go out and create surveys or create preference management to start create a new type of segmentation or combine these sort of segmentations. Okay. I want to throw in one last. So we have these two types of segmentations that really start to give you an idea of what people want to hear based on who they are and what they say they want. A last is a little bit of a higher level, and I want to ask you about it and how you think about it and how we were thinking about it when we were building our email marketing system, which is analytics. I don't think a lot of people think about analytics whenever it comes to email, but this is segmenting based on open rates, based on click-through rates, based on conversion rates, and you can do this by segments. You can bring this together, but this is based on, let's call this activity. So activity type engagement. You want to say anything about this?
Yeah.
Been hearing anything
definitely.
about this?
Yeah, 100%. So with most marketing teams, they capture this information within their email marketing tool. They have the who opens it and who clicks on it. And then they have a general stat just based on the campaign. Look at it. It was good. They celebrate. Awesome. But what they don't do really is looking at the people as much on who is actually not engaging. And if you have someone you have sent 6 marketing emails over the last 6 months, newsletters or something, or even more, and they have not really engaged with a single one of them, clean your list. Don't send to them anymore. They're obviously not really interested in what you're sending. And what you can do as an advanced tip is, if it's an important contact and you're wondering what is happening because it's part of your key clients, for example, reach out and ask for feedback again. This is, again, the feedback thing. It's like, hey, I've noticed that none of our marketing emails have been open. Are we sending, like, are they even ending up in your inbox? That's the first question you should ask. Hey, do you even receive them? Because they might not even receive them. And if they do, is it relevant content? If it's not, please tell us, what you would like to receive from us. And the worst that happens is they unsubscribe and say, hey, I actually don't want to receive anything, which is totally fine because they're not really opening anything anyway. And instead of annoying them, you're simply just not sending anything. And the outcome at the end is the same. They're not reading your emails.
Yes. Just to close the loop, unengaged people who don't answer your emails actually, and removing them from your list tends to actually make the entire list cleaner, which leads to higher engagement rates, which leads to better email deliverability. That's a technical point, but keeping your email list clean is important. It's hygiene, right? That's what we're talking about here.
Correct.
Okay.
But it also shows that you're organized and that you care. If you don't actually do a follow-up and you ask this person, it's like, hey, we've noticed, and we care about this. So please tell us what you like to receive. And if you don't want to receive anything, please tell us because we really care about this. Yeah. And that shows sophistication, which people appreciate, so good tip.
Yes. All right. So before we leave this slide, here's where we're at in the presentation. Uncovering people's preferences is key. There's 3 key ways to do it. 1, demographics, traditional ways. What have they done? Are they a client? Their engagement, their location, demographics. That's one way to do it. The second is ask them what they're into. Preference management, and making sure that you're creating a way for people to raise their hand. The last, a little bit advanced, what is their activity? What have they been doing? Actions sometimes speak louder than words. So these are 3 ways that you can mix and match or create segments based on people in New York who have opened my email over the last 30 days who are also interested in X, Y, and Z feedback. That's kind of where we're at. And this is a level of sophistication that really allows you to start creating very personalized emails, right? So this is where we're at now. You want to take us to the next level? We're going to walk through these different type of personalized emails and what this would look like and where you get these data sources. But this is combining this idea of segmentation and now the actual content. What are you thinking when you see this, Phil?
Look, I think around the personalization as well, it's really important that you put something in that resonates with the reader or your audience you're sending this to, and also gives a touch of this "I know you" in the message, right? Even if it's an automation, if it's personalization at scale, where there's some sort of automation around it, you can still achieve that by hyper-personalizing your marketing list. And then instead of having 12,000 on it, you might have 500 on it. But for those 500, you have so deeply driven into them that you understand what the real value is out of this email, what you're sending. So you can personalize it on scale so they feel like, hey, this is actually for me because this is me, this is talking to me, per se, right? And if you want to do that, you can have that same piece of content just created in 3 different personalized campaigns, sending to 3 different segments, just then with a little bit of different content. But once you start doing this, you achieve a little bit more like of this personalization at scale.
Yes.
Obviously, there's other ways to do it with tech and AI and all of that stuff, but I'm not even going to go that way because this is so far from where we are today. But this is how you can already reach a little bit more of a personalization of scale and make it a little bit just more intimate.
Yeah. Okay. So let's lay this down. So you have your segments and you're ready to craft some personalized emails to now those segments, ensuring that these people are receiving content that resonates with them because you've created these emails. So let's go through some of the ones that you can really get to. So the first is demographic-based segmentation. You want to reach out to everybody in New York who has been to one of your events over the course of the last 5 days, or over the last 5 months, excuse me. What you would want to do here is tailor that language, that imagery, that content based on that particular scenario, right? So you might lead with, here's where we're going to be in New York over the course of the next 3 days. This is what the firm is going to be engaged in. You might want to send specific newsletters specific for this demographic, while also, if we piece together the event piece, while also saying, here's where we're going to be in the events that we're going to have in the New York area. Starts to be very personalized, very powerful, very quickly, based on some very simple demographic segmentation. And again, the emails and the content being delivered starts to be highly, highly relevant for these people. Phil, any reaction against sort of this first type of personalization email to
Yeah,
demographics?
no, this is exactly on how you should do it. But then also some of the things that you can do, because at the end of the day, we're all people. You don't always have to keep it super, super highly top-notch professional and only put the legal content within it you actually want to share. There's some things where you can then personalize it even more and make it a little bit more personal and add something that is happening, for example, in New York. Okay? And also, did you know there's this actually really interesting event happening at Madison Square Garden, for example? Like there's something, right? And you can just share this as well, which is gives a little bit of personal touch, which then this is not just business. There's some other things they're sharing and giving value on top of it as well, which is not something we see very often, but is something what our research has shown as well would be very, very valued by people actually receiving those emails.
Yes, totally. Again, I think the mindset shift here is that by creating segments, we are able to nurture people along a life cycle and not just be delivering information, right? We're nurturing them, we're taking them along. I'm going to skip behavioral segmentation because, just for sake of time. And actually, let's get to life cycle stage segmentation. As marketers, we all know that life cycle is incredibly important as we move people from a cold contact that downloaded a piece of contact all the way to almost getting ready to make a purchasing decision or a client or a law firm selection decision, all the way to being a client, and even clients that have are no longer clients that you're trying to reinvigorate. This entire life cycle is incredibly important, and engaging in emails at every stage is incredibly important. And if you're segmenting your contacts based on who they are, you're able to engage with them and nurture them, really bringing them along the entire client or customer life cycle, however you want to phrase it. What do you think about life cycle stage segmentation and the ROI that you can get from taking people from a contact to a connection to a active person in the buying stage, to clients, even to champions and referral clients? This entire stage of how you can sort of bring people all along. Life cycle stage segmentation, very, very powerful, I think.
It is very powerful because again, you can really tailor the content based on the station where they're in, and the content is very different, right? For someone who knows you extremely well, who has, worked with you on many different legal issues and has engaged you in multi areas throughout different practice groups, they know who you are and they know what you do. Others that are a little bit more new, they don't. So there's just more like an awareness, educational piece on top of that as well. I know we have to, I think, be very careful as well because law firms have this very different go-to-market approach, or the industry just works slightly different, especially in the B2B law firms, where a lot of that marketing is actually done to existing clients because you're in this continuous relationship nurture cycle where a lot of these pieces of work have to continuously be won. I'm consciously trying to not say selling because it's not really this selling, but you're continuously trying to strengthen your relationship with clients and deepen your relationships, add value to them ongoingly. And a lot of them are known. A lot of them, probably 80% of them, are the known contacts, and
Right.
which you kind of reach out into. But then there's obviously the ones that are the new ones, which create new opportunities as well. And if you can separate them already, great. If you then have your clients and you even do another separation there, which are the ones which are your key clients, and you're trying to create a strategy around them. And here, unpopular belief on my end, what I'm sharing, especially because it's even contradicting on what we're talking to here today, is like those key clients and the key stakeholders within your key clients, take them off your email lists. Take them off.
Mm.
Don't reach out with automated mass email. Those deserve your time to actually read out in a personalized one-on-one email.
Right, right.
right?
Which again,
So
we're going to get to. We're going to get to how these two, how one to many and one to one work together. You know, email strategy includes one to one email if you start
it's the
thinking about it.
distribution. Yeah, correct.
Exactly. Okay, so let's move to multi-motion campaigns, and I think that this is a good segue into what we're going to get to next, which is how do you start with very simple and then how do you go to very very complex. But let's go to, for example, when we talk about multi-motion campaigns, what we're really doing is we're starting to weave together multiple different type of campaigns. And so here's just two examples. You might have an onboarding series into new subscribers or new clients per se, and you might then use a re-engagement series for inactive subscribers. And what we're just trying to say is weaving these things together based on the segments is really starting to be a very, very complex, and we're going to package all this together, but really where we're able to get to. What have you been seeing in the market in terms of how people are weaving together different types of campaigns into all of this and multi motion different campaigns? Anything
Yeah.
that's struck you as wow, really advanced or really engaging today that law firms are
Um,
doing?
Look, some of them start thinking about it in that way. There's no automation still really used around this to kind of
Right.
make it more efficient. They are trying to strategize around a full engagement plan over a period of time that talks to specific segments and then has re-engagement segments. And based on some of these activities, they are changing their approach slightly, and have multiple campaigns kind of strung together to reach a goal at the end, happening very, very, very slowly.
Right.
But this is really super advanced stuff already, right?
Yes.
Needs a lot of strategic thinking, needs technology to really support that, needs the right data. There's a lot that has to come together. It's
Yes.
slowly
Totally.
starting, but the ones that are starting to think in that way have already, in feedback, said it is working and they're getting higher returns on it because they're
Yes.
telling a
Yes.
story and it's cohesive.
Exactly. Exactly. But the core of it is really the segmentation, right? If you can
Always is.
segment people, then you can bring them on a journey through
Yeah.
multi different type of motions, and then using the power of automation to really take people. And there, when you're using automation, you're really getting to a high level of impact with even a small team of marketers using one specific channel. So very, very cool. So we're going to get to this last slide here, and this is really going to be Phil's opportunity to kind of walk through what we're seeing in the market from basic type of data-driven, segmentation-driven email, all the way to multi-channel engagement and very, very, very high level type of high level type of email marketing strategy. And then the last part is really the marketing to business development or the marketing to client development, and the idea of warm personalized follow-up, which we are such a big advocate here at Nexl about, which is, yes, you can warm people up with email, but one-to-one email and follow-ups and personalization based on that activity is really where you start to get a lot of magic happening. Warm them up with email, warm them up with campaigns, bring them along the funnel with one-to-one personalized outreach, right? It's this two
Yeah.
sides of the same coin. But Phil, why don't you walk us through kind
Yeah.
of level one and
Yeah.
package this all together for us?
Like the last part you just said with this marketing to business development, I think this is the goal. This is where everything happens. So how do we lead to that? How do you even get started with something like this? Let's say you start with spreadsheets and other things. Well, the first thing is really around the contact segmentation around demographics. That is one of the simplest things to do. There's data enrichment services out there as well. So if you don't have access to the data today, let's say your email lists you have access to today are incomplete. There's services out there. There's even data stewardship services out there where you can send it off and there's a group of people trying to kind of clean up your data for you. There's all sorts of services out there. With Nexl, we have this data enrichment service. As soon as you upload it, we add all of this information, try as good as possible, identify and give you more demographic data on top of it. That is kind of your minimum first step, what you have to do. Capture this demographic data and start segmenting based on it. And don't be worried or scared to now suddenly not sending your email to 14,000 people, but only to 500 or 600 or even less. Because remember that statement, it doesn't mean, it doesn't matter on how the number of people what is it? I'm completely screwing out this statement right now. Don't count the people you reach.
Count the reach
Yes,
the people
correct.
you count.
Don't count. Correct. I'm so sorry I usually say this all day, every day, and I completely dropped it. It is really like that, and it is a little bit scary right at the beginning, and it feels a little bit uneasy because you're not marketing to 14,000 people anymore because you feel like this has wider reach and is more impactful, but it actually isn't. It's the quite opposite. So it's just a mindset shift around that. Then once you have that, you obviously start collecting engagement data based on this segmentation, what you do as well, and the people you send emails to. If they stop engaging with your data or with your content, with your email, again, two things. Either just stop emailing them because they're not reading it anyway, so there's no loss. And don't think of this eureka moment where suddenly you send this right piece of content and they get super engaged. Not going to happen. They're not reading it, or it's just not reaching their inbox. If it's a really important contact and you care about them, try to do a follow-up and reach out and actually ask for feedback on, are they receiving it? Or is what they're receiving just not the right content for them? If it isn't, ask them what they would like to receive. It really pays off. Great strategy. But you have to stick with it. Really try to groom your list based on the engagement. As soon as someone is unengaged, take them off. It hurts you more than it does good. Less is more in this place. Less is really more. Then the next advanced step, what you can do, which is really a way more advanced thing, is obviously if we do preference management already and we capture their preferences, what they tell us they would like, is one thing, obviously, and then sticking with it. But you can then also say, if you start tagging the content based on the topic and interest areas, you can actually create an engagement or a preference interest chart, basically. Are the preferences, what they say, what they're interested in, actually correct? You can actually cross-check it a little bit. And for the ones that haven't given you the preference yet, manually, you can actually build a preference profile based on engagement. Data doesn't really lie, right? So you can actually use the data, and even if someone said that they're interested in these 5 areas, you email them of these 5 areas, but they never open up 4 area topics of that, but only one. It's like, maybe update your preferences. Hey, we have noticed this, And if you actually start reaching out and telling them, hey, we have noticed that you're not actually opening any of these areas, but only that, would you like us to update your preference? Imagine on how sophisticated that sounds to them if you start reaching out to some of your key clients around that. Insane. And then also at the same time, you can use this data to assume preferences, obviously, where you haven't captured it yet, and can suggest new preferences for certain contacts as well. That is already a pretty advanced way of doing it, and takes a little bit of muscle to train. And this is probably something you would do with really your high value clients. Another thing what you could lay into kind of this segmentation is transactional, or more like the relationship-based intelligence, relationship-based information on who knows who within the firm. So if there's a piece of content, a specific partner writes, for example, and has written a thought leadership piece, you probably also want to just see who are their close relationships. Even if they have maybe not said that they're interested in this specific topic, for the pure deepness of the relationship what they have and their interactions on the day-to-day, you could again assume that they should be probably interested in that. And if they're not, why is the partner even writing this piece of content if none of their relationships are actually interested in it? So that again helps drive 2 strategies. First of all, on are you even writing the right content to reach the right people that you can engage them? But it also adds another layer of segmentation and personalization on top of it. Great way. Difficult to do though, because no one has access to this who knows who data. Unless they have Nexl, obviously. Right. Good little plug right there. And then it's all about, when you have engaged and collected all of that data, is what's that multi-channel approach here? Which is, obviously you can deliver content in multiple different ways. You can do it via email. And now you have that engagement via email, but then they might also browse your homepage. They also might engage with some of your social content. And you might also publish that thought leadership piece on Mondag, for example, or other publishing services, where you get, again, more engagement data back, which you can feed into a system to actually then build this engagement profile. around your clients and your audiences, basically, what you're building. And again, more advanced, needs technology, because pulling all of this information manually is a little bit difficult and hard and too much effort. But that, again, adds another layer of data on top of it, which allows you to go even deeper and deeper and deeper into segmentation, which allows you to create more impactful campaigns.
Yes.
But you know what, Ben? Now we go to the exciting part.
Exactly.
Okay, you summarize it, but now we go to this really exciting part. We led to this thing, this real gold nugget.
Exactly. So we're going to put the cherry on top of this, but let's summarize, and I want, Phil, for all of us, I want to see if I'm getting what you're putting down here. The first point is really the idea that going from a master list to a highly segmented list based on people's preferences is key to starting to uncover people's preferences and deliver more impactful content. The second is, with those segmentations, and you walked us through the different type of segmentations, we can start delivering good content that is highly relevant and taking people along a journey, really warming them up based on wherever they're at in their stage, be it a client, be it a new subscriber, be it somebody that you met at an event, be it somebody that a client that you are trying to re-engage with, wherever they're at. You can really use email to warm them up and move them along the stage. And that kind of brings us to the third point, which is the power of a personalized follow-up and how you can deliver over to the partners and to the lawyers and to the client relationship and to the relationship partners, this idea of warmed up, highly engaged through email, through segmentation, highly engaged contacts for a personalized warm-up. Yeah. So first of all, did I do a good job summarizing what we're advocating for?
You definitely did.
Yes.
You definitely did, but I think we actually missed one topic at the top here, which was what people don't really like to talk about is actually compliance. You have marketing compliance and Spam Act compliance as well, right? There's regulations out there who actually are allowed to email. That obviously layers on top of that as well. You need to keep track of consent.
Yes.
As easy as that, right? Don't email people that don't give you consent. But yes, otherwise it really sums it up. And then all of that, because now you have all of this data, you're really good at creating these personalized experiences. They're engaging more with your content, and you know now in what content they're engaging with. Now you can actually slowly start introducing this. How do you turn this and what we would call demand, what you have created with all of your marketing, into actual revenue and opportunities and new client opportunities? And that does not happen automatically. We're not sitting here passively waiting to hope that someone comes to us and we win more work. That needs to be done proactively. And this is where this one-on-one follow-up comes in place. And this is so, so important. Not many do it because it's difficult to organize. Also, partners are busy, so it takes a lot of time. And it does take time. We're not, fooling anyone here. It's an effort, but the return on it is incredible. And it adds actual return to everything what you have done before on the marketing side of things. That's how you get the real return in the industry outside of legal. We would call this demand capture. You're creating all of this demand, and now you're actually capturing it and creating new opportunities that actually then lead to revenue. So you have ROI, or in the event one, ROE, return on your events.
ROE,
I like that one, Ben. Ben told me that one, that this is a new kind of industry term that goes around, and I really like it. But how do you do that? Because obviously partners are busy, right? They're extremely busy professionals. How can you do that at scale? And how can you get them to focus on the right ones? And this is, again, that key trigger. They have to focus on the right ones. You have to come through and say, okay, they're engaging with certain pieces of content. They're highly engaged with our marketing. You could even score the client engagement with your marketing if you want to. Very advanced kind of thing to do engagement scoring as well on top of it. But once they're engaged, you can actually pass on warm, highly engaged contacts that have interacted with a specific topic of your campaigns. So they obviously are interested in it. Because let's be honest, we're not doing higher level kind of top of funnel kind of content which you just read for fun. It is usually very expertise, thought leadership, deep expertise driven content what law firms share. So there is real interest in that, and there's a real opportunity in it. So once you have all of this data in there, you can look into who are your highest engaged contacts and then pass them on to business development. So business development then has a list of these highly engaged contacts, and they can then look into, for example, the who knows who information, that relationship intelligence they have from the firm, from within the firm, if they use Nexl, to then say who is actually the right person to do the follow-up. And that can be driven by two different factors. Let's say the specific content what they're engaged with. If they already have an existing relationship with that partner that is related to that piece of content, that partner can reach out straight away. But if they're engaging with content where you actually see there's actually no partner in that specific practice area or industry group actually engaged with, you can now reach out to that partner that has the existing relationship and say, hey, your client is engaging with a lot of content which affects, let's say, Barbara's practice group. Please, let's organize an introduction between yourself, Barbara, and your client. Let's set that up. And then you even used marketing data and engagement data to identify and facilitate cross-serving opportunities. Imagine that. Imagine if you can get to this flow where with all of your marketing you do, all of your email marketing, all of your events, the content you're distributing, the website visitors, if you capture that, and if you pass on just a few of those to business development, so they then facilitate with this relationship intelligence for partners to reach out on a one-on-one, do introductions, and actually use that data to connect on a personal level to then actually build the relationship.
Yeah.
That's where you want to end up. This is it.
That sounds a lot like moving from counting the people you reach to reaching the people who count. And that's why we're doing all of this, right? We're trying to reach the people who count, the people who turn into new clients, new expansion of client and wallet share. That's really why we're doing all of this. And email plays an important slice of this. And we believe that good segmentation can really do a lot to move people toward to warm. So that's really the entire substantive presentation. I wanted to ask Emma very quickly if we could poll the audience. We have a lot of great people here, and I just wanted to see if we could poll the audience and let us know, do you segment currently your audience, or are you planning on segmenting it sometime in the future? We'd love to hear from you. Let us know. And then of course, any questions that you have about some of the difficulties, happy to answer any questions for the last couple of minutes, but if not, we want to give everybody back some time. Phil, any final question, any final stories, any interesting sort of tidbits that we didn't get to around this idea? It's a big idea, of course, which is the power of email to move people from wherever they are at to the next stage. And then the idea of handing off warm demand, warm up email contacts and really handing them over to the right relationship partner so that they can engage with much more insight, with much more intent, and much more confidently based on what's happened. So that's really the whole point of this, right?
And it's much more time efficient because they're reaching out to the right people. They're reaching out to the highest engaged people where there's the biggest opportunity. So they're actually spending less time but get a higher or a better result out of it. And if you start pitching that to your partnership, like, hey, wait a second, we can do this. So you actually have to spend less time on doing business development, but you get a better result out of it.
Right.
I think they buy it because they're very time poor, right? And they still want to have that result out of it. So if you can provide that ongoing engagement list to provide these highest engaged contacts based on that, it makes it so much easier for everybody. Yeah. And then guess what? Once you have all of this, you can even layer on strategy behind it to then actually see, okay, based on our firm-wide strategy, the practice group, sector strategy, and where we want to go, are we actually reaching the right people for this specific strategy? And are the right people engaged for this strategy? And if not, you have to obviously change the content and the people you're trying to reach to make your strategy work. So there's a lot you can do around this, but never start just purely with strategy without even having the first steps kind of set up. You have to, how do you call it? Build the scaffolding first. Can
Build
you
the
say that
scaffold.
that
Yes,
analogy?
right.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Totally. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you, everybody, to being on here. The takeaway for me, Phil, was there's always a low-hanging fruit place to start with, which is contact segmentation. And really what you can do is you can segment out, to test this, a very small segment of your audience. Just start by location, just start by where they might be at, client, not client, etc. Maybe a little bit more advanced in terms of if you have relationship intelligence, who knows who, you can start to segment based on that. And really test to see whether or not the people who come through the segmentation funnel, and compare about how much more engaged they are versus the master list. I wouldn't bet all the money in the world, but I'd bet a high percentage of the money that's going to be much more impactful. And again, the idea is that as marketers, we can turn around and we can show our firms the tremendous amount of engagement just by segmenting the audience, and then the personalized follow-up, the warm follow-up, which is, this person has been opening this type of content. Please go ahead and reach out to them, and gives everybody. So it's a win-win for everybody. It's win for BD, it's win for lawyers who are time poor, and it's a win for marketing, which really allows for much more impactful marketing and justifying marketing spend and marketing ROI here. So it's a beautiful story, not easy. We never said it was easy. Us at Nexl, we're trying to make it a little bit more easy with what we're providing here, but definitely takes some grunt work. But I think the return on email is definitely there, I would
say. We should call it ROE, return on email, return on events. So
cool. Thank you. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Emma, any questions that we didn't get to? Kind of good there. If not, we'll give back everybody a couple minutes, and let us know any questions. I'm not sure. I think we got to everything, if I'm not mistaken, right? Cool. All right. Well, everybody, this is our last webinar of the year. So thank you so much if you have been for joining us today, and if you've been on a previous One Firm webinar. Happy holidays, and hopefully you have a very thriving, restful end of your year. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody, and thanks, Phil, for jumping on today.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody. For that. See you, everybody. Bye.
Cheers, everybody.